Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Speak and Sell Challenge. I'm going to do a double check here to make sure that I can be seen and can be heard. So do me a favor. If you're just tuning in and you're watching now, let me know you can be said. So let me just double check a couple things over here. I'm going to go do that now. Just do a quick check here. And just to make sure that we can be seen, okay, let me go here, community home. Okay, let's see if we can do this here. Let's see if we're here. I think we're coming in. I think I'm coming in loud and clear. Do me a favor, all the folks out there in the Speak and Sell Challenge, welcome to day 2. Just so I can make sure I'm being heard, so I can make sure I'm being seen. Do me a favor, just post a little comment if you can't, and just put speak and serve. Just put speak and serve. And that's the bat signal out there that my microphone is turned on, number one. And number two, that you can hear me. Number one. And let me see here so to make sure. Double check. Okay, some folks said I can hear you. Said speak and serve, speak and serve, speak and serve. Yes, y'all are just so super incredible. And right now you have me. I'm obviously not Dr. Cheryl Wood. I am Shay Brown, and really excited to be here. Dr. Wood will be joining on today. I'll let her tell the story. She took her sister, which is one of her twin sisters, Dr. Sheree Good, to the hospital. There had to be a procedure that had to be done, and she's trying to find her way into a room right now, so she can connect with all of you. So her heart's here. She wants to be here. I'm hoping she'll be joining on through the power of these fiber optic lines shortly. If you ever been in a hospital, I'm not laughing because it's not really funny, but if you ever been in a hospital, it's very difficult sometimes just to get a signal out. So I'll check in with her very, very shortly. You're saying speak and serve, speak and serve, speak and serve. You're here. Welcome to day 2. Now, what I like to do as we're getting started is I like to first just slow down and then we'll speed up. So we'll talk about win stages and get paid. And Dr. Cheryl Wood will share her 5 steps. But I also want to make sure that we slow down and just step back to yesterday, because I want to acknowledge everyone who did their homework. That's number 1. And then number 2, I want to share one more golden nugget, because one of the challenges that I see for all of you who are tuning in right now, one of the challenges that I see is that when someone is preparing to win a stage, they're preparing to have the conversation, there's a back end piece, we call it a sales funnel, that leads them to be able to get a speaking opportunity. And it's in that speaking opportunity when someone is interested, someone is thinking about bringing in a speaker, that sometimes that piece is not together. And a missing piece of that sometimes is not only the story, but it's also the supporting collateral to go with it. So first, let me slow down, because I had a chance to go in and listen to a number of the stories that you all told. I'm going to let Dr. Wood do her part. But let me take a moment and just acknowledge everyone who actually, where's it at? Who actually turned in their story. And that's going to do a shout out to you first, because that says a lot about you. It says that you're someone that takes this very, very seriously. You're someone that's not dibbling, you're not dabbling, that you're already all in. So first, let me acknowledge all of you. And I know some of you couldn't get to the homework assignment. Some of you started doing it. Some of you listened to the recording. You sent the email. It's okay. You still have a chance to do it. The homework assignment from day 1 was all about creating a captivating story. Dr. Wood went into a lot of detail on that, and you can see the replay for as long as it's available. And your homework assignment was to go grab your video camera and share a story or share a message immediately. And you did that. And then Dr. Woods went in and she's listened to a number of them, and she's going to give feedback. That's her thing. I did listen to them as well. I'm going to give my feedback from a general perspective in just a moment. But let me acknowledge Kenyatta Powers, Rucker, who turned theirs in, Tiffany Hall, Judy Amber Hartman, Angelique Robinson, Crystal Waters Porter, Tamara Everett Cuffey Johnson, Martina Lynn, Shanquia Cousins, Pat Russells, Michelle Austin. And for those folks that are out there, I think she says you're logging in, that did turn in their homework. Let me say, okay, this is Cheryl. I'm multitasking right now. Don't worry. Cheryl, don't worry. Mic check, we're live, but don't worry. I told you you're in the hospital. I'm just going over a few things now. Don't worry. But can you do a mic check so I can make sure I can hear you?
Mic check, mic check. I'm here.
Now, I was going to be the star for a moment. I was prepared to talk about what I know about having a sales funnel that leads them so someone can find them, a sales funnel that once they connect with someone who's interested in the speaker that they can get to, or the sales conversation that needs to take place that puts them in a position. But now that you're here, folks wanted to know about the 5 steps you are doing. But first, everyone, if you're out there, just give Cheryl a little love. If you're in the comments right now, I mentioned she'll tell her own thing that she's at the hospital now. She's okay. I think her sister's okay, but she found a way to be here with you because it's in her heart. She believes in what you're doing. I'm not stroking her ego because I don't have to be her entourage here, but I know it to be true that she's just that type of person. And I think it's important that I mention this, that the person that you see on camera is the same person that's off camera, and the heart that she has to give and the heart that she has to serve. And she's also about pouring into people. But Cheryl, you may agree, we started this journey 1,000 years ago when Jesus was walking the earth. Outside of you and I have money to be able to do some things we want to do, it's really the lives that we touch and we see change and see transform. So they're putting "We love you, Dr. Cheryl" out there. So if you can pause for a moment, Cheryl, I just want to acknowledge if some of the folks first take a minute or two to acknowledge first that did their homework. And then I just want to set something up for today. And then I know you're going to get into the 5 steps. So if you can let me have about 5 or 6 minutes, I'm going to put myself back on here. And I'm going to just have a conversation. Would that be okay? I'll give you a couple of minutes here. Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Unless you want to say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody. I'm excited to be here. I was like, I'm not going to miss it. I won't be there, but I'm going to make sure I pop in. I make sure I come and add some value. I'm going to make sure that I come over because I want to give love to the people who are doing the work. I have been looking at some of the videos. I didn't comment yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I know we had some folks. Let's see. I think Martina sent in a video. Who else did I see?
Well, I was going over the list, so I'll save you. I'm almost done, so I'll
Nicole,
save you.
I saw Nicole Pride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ashley Von Zant, who's I think in my current book project, the one that's coming out in a week. Go ahead. So yes. Okay. So I see you, and I love that you all are doing the work because that's what it takes. We talked about that yesterday. Knowledge is power, but knowledge executed is your superpower.
And she found like a little corner. Y'all see, she found like a little corner. The broadcast probably got her laptop on her lap like that.
I do.
Try to make it happen. So for those folks that are out there, once again, there's 3 things that are important. One, we were acknowledging the folks who are out there, like Dr. Cheryl said. I think I started Michelle Austin, Victoria Blocker, Myra Hood, Ashton Price, B. Jacqueline Jeter, Latanya Wiggins, Nicole Price, Lisa Stringer, Tina, Mirtha Dubas, I believe, Emma, hey Emma, Nikia Campbell, Sharonda Lynn, Caressa, and Crystal Waters Porters. And there's so many that came in afternoon. Look, if you're listening and you're watching right now, there's 2 reasons why I still want you to do the homework assignment. And I'm going to tell you that now. And then I'm going to turn over to Cheryl. The number one reason is I want you to get the practice in. I want you to get the reps in because nothing happens until you get your reps in. That's number one. Number two is an opportunity to get feedback. Yes, I'm going to go into some and I'm going to give some feedback. And then Dr. Wood said she's going to look at some and she may get feedback now or on day 3 tomorrow, okay? Because she's in a situation right now. It's very difficult to do that. Now, I want you the person's watching, you the speaker, or you the author, you the expert, you the person's out there in the Speak and Sell Challenge. I want you to go and I want you to watch. And I want you to share your comments. I want you to share some words of encouragement. So you go listen, but you listen with different ears. Okay, you watch with different eyes and you give some positive feedback on what you enjoy most about it. Okay, so I'm going to challenge you. If you're out there right now, I can't see it. If you're like Shay, I'm all aboard. I'm all aboard because I learn. I'm always learning, and I'm willing to support other folks. This is a very safe environment that we've created here. You're going to go out and you're going to listen to at least 1. Some of you are going to do 2. Some of you are going to do 3. Some of y'all are rock stars, and you're going to share some positive what you enjoy most about the message they shared. Okay, that's number one. And I want you to, so if you're willing to do that, do me a favor in the comments section, just jot a number one. Just jot a number one. And number one, it's kind of like the bat signal that I'm willing to collaborate. A number one is the bat signal I'm willing to help someone else. And how do we win stages? How did Dr. Cheryl get there? Well, it didn't get there because she looks good, although she looks amazing. She looks incredible. She's super fine. Okay. And she didn't get there just because she had nothing to do with her time. She took time to make sure that she had a captivating story, she had a message, and she could impact other lives. So if you're willing to do that, just do a number one, and that's a homework assignment. The second thing I'm going to challenge some of you that did yours is I want you to go back in there and do another one. Okay. And I want you to do one that's a little different. And I want you to include one ingredient that I felt was missing probably on 75% of them. And this, I was looking at it from a sales view of the world. Okay. So I just looked at it from a sales view of the world. And that is to make sure when you open up that you have what they call an attention grabber, or some people call it a hook. Okay. And some of you've heard that before, that somewhere in your talk, you have a hook, right? And a hook is something that grabs their attention. A hook is something that starts the framework. It could be a question. Dr. Woods does that so well. And many of you, as you was talking, I understand you was getting to the story, I never got to some of the headlines. Like I didn't see some of the transitions. So think about that. What is an attention grabber? What is something that you could say right away? Some of you could state something that took place, and that's a way to stop people in their attention. And the reason I say that, and I can go to Dr. Cheryl. I know y'all don't care about Shay Brown. I understand. I just wanted to share my few words here. Is that from a sales perspective, right? You want someone, I understand, to you want to get on the stage. You think about when they're scrolling through Instagram, you think about when they're scrolling through, what normally grabs your attention, right? You stop, and if you turn off the video, someone says, so there I was in the middle of something, and this took place. Or have you ever in your life wanted to have more success and more impact? And you pause for a moment. It made you pause in your scrolling. It made you stop. It made you tune in. That's called a hook. And you typically have a hook before you go into a story. Very important. Sometimes people call it a hook, story, close, for those folks that want the technique. Or for my advanced students that are out there in neuro-linguistic sales, and neuro-linguistic sales is a study of language patterns and how it impacts the sales process. That's called an interest-creating remark. Put that down in your notes. An interest-creating remark. So right now, you listen very carefully, and all you seasoned folks, no matter how good you are telling stories, we all drift into patterns, and sometimes we can all get into a rut. So we can be reminded of something that's very simple that could change the whole trajectory of you getting on stage. Interest-creating remark is when you say something, zoop, and it makes the person's antennas go up like Mork and Mindy, or it's the headline to like a Washington Post or a newspaper. So example, maybe I could say something like, listen very closely to what I'm about to say. I could be talking to my story, and I could say, what I'm about to share really shifted the trajectory of my life. And if you listen carefully, it'll shift yours. It could be, those are called interest-creating remarks, or some people call them hooks, but they're attention grabbers. And you sprinkle those cleverly throughout your story or your message. Now, this is not about the story to get you on stage. I want to know that some of you are doing podcasts and some of you are doing webinars, and you do other things. In order to get on a stage, sometimes folks are going back and looking at your stuff, and they don't want to work hard. So it's called an interest-creating remark, or a hook, or attention grabber. Everyone jot that down in your notes. Now, I'm going to bring up Dr. Wood in a moment, but I wanted to share that. Now, there's going to be a very important homework assignment. I'll bring you on in a moment, Dr. Woods. Give me a minute or two and get yourself settled. And I know y'all want to know the 5 things she did to get on stage, and she'll do that. But some of you out there that are listening right now, and if you already have, and you're already speaking, and you're like, whoa, Shay, I just want her to get to the part of how does she get to stage? What does she say? Do me a favor. In the comments below, and this is not for me, this is for everyone else that's watching, everyone's going to see this. Go ahead and put down your number 1 keynote that you would like to be paid for? Like the topic, just put down the topic up. And if you don't have one, that's okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure Dr. Woods is going to say at some point, you need to have 1 or 2 or 3 keynotes. But if you're already out there and you're an advanced level, you're like, shit, I'm advanced. I just can't wait to see talk about how she negotiates the deal and how she gets them to pay her $25,000 or $50,000 or whatever the number is. That's cool. You go out there right now. You just put down, my keynote topic is blank. I don't know how to build a 7-figure sales team, because I want the because frame in there, because it helps people generate revenue. I don't know, because it frees up their time. So you just put your keynote down. So right now, and if you don't have a keynote, it's okay. Just doesn't mean you're behind. But Dr. Wood's gonna talk about 5 things she does to get on stages, and I'm like to believe she's gonna talk about some stages. They pay her big dollars to come on, and they want to know what she's gonna talk about. And there might be other stages. They may say, you pick your topic. And she has to pick a topic, okay? And the reason I'm asking you to do that now before we get started, there'll be a homework assignment later, is because I want you to be able to share that with other folks. So this is a sharing environment. So with that being said, let me go over here. In a moment, I'm going to bring Dr. Woods back on, because, Dr. Woods, I was doing the monologue and getting them started, because when they think speak and sell, they just think all I got to do is send a fancy brochure. All I got to do is just know these words that Dr. Woods is saying, and all of a sudden, the magic happens. There's this fairy dust that goes up. They get the Holy Ghost, get excited, and things just happen like that, and they forget of the work that has to be done. Sometimes I even forget of the preparation that goes into it. So with that being said, for those folks that are posting, I know there's always a slight minute or two delay when we're speaking here, but the posting it out there right now, your diagnosis is not your prognosis. I hope you quit. Did I say that? The secret to elevating your value in the corporate workplace, transitioning from, I don't know, I'll let Cheryl read some of those later. I see you post them out there, and I want you to do that, because if you're at a place and you don't later, and when Cheryl leaves, because she has to get back, take care of her sister when she finishes, I'm sure. I'm going to talk about how you may want to come in and at a time be part of a boot camp or something we're going to be doing, and you'll have a chance in a personal situation or a personal environment be able to get some of these things done, like knocked out and finished. All right, Dr. Wood, I lined it up. I want to toss it over. They were talking about winning stages, and they really want to know, what does Dr. Woods do to get on the stage? Before I turn it over to you, I'll say one more thing, and I got to get to it. The workbook. Later this week, for those folks that are serious and motivated, you will get the workbook. For all the VIPs, it'll be over in the Speak and Sell Academy, and you have access to it online. And now it's not VIP one for everybody. That's fine. For those that aren't, we will be releasing it later in the week. We want to make sure we pull the most relevant pieces together. We're going back and reframing it, and that will be sent to you. But if you're listening, you're like, hey, Shay, I just want to make sure whatever boot camp is going on later, whatever y'all going to be in person, and Dr. Woods is going to be there personally reviewing my topics, or I get a chance to get in front of a camera and I get to give a talk, and I'll be able to use that talk and take it somewhere else. And if there is a Speak and Sell boot camp that exists on the freaking planet, just put me on the list to get the details. If that's you, I'm gonna give you a number to text in. You can all text the word boot camp. And I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Woods. Don't worry, because I got the messages, and some of you, that's what you want. You're like, I want to be in person. I want to be right there. I want to get up there and I want to say what I have to say, and I want immediate feedback and so forth. And I want to record it. I need it for my pages. I'm ready to get on stage. Text the word boot camp. Text the word boot camp. There's no date. There's nothing to buy. You just want to be on the list, okay? Text the word boot camp. I'm going to give you the number, because there'll only be a handful of folks, and making it so everyone can attend if they want to, but it will be live. It will be in person. I will be there. Dr. Woods will be there. Don't worry about the date. The number to text is 202-270-1662. Again, 202-270-1662. Text the word boot camp. Now, someone make that in the comments for me. Text the word boot camp to 202-270-1662. Include your first name, only if you want to have a captivating story. Include your last name so we know who you are, only if you really want to win some stages. You need a topic. You need a speaker one sheet. You need a reel. Text your best email so we have that in your contact number, because you want to monetize it. You want to be able to build your stages. You want to get paid to coach. You want to do, I'll say, what Dr. Wood is doing and many others, and you're ready for that. And again, this challenge, she's going to come on in a moment. She's ready to rock out, but I want to share that because I appreciate the messages. We read every one of the comments, gone back and watched the videos. We'll do that on another special session and go into some details. All right, Dr. Woods, some of already texting in boot camp. I know we're not talking about today, so y'all don't worry about that. You're on the special early bird list when it's released. If you get in, it will close out very, very quickly. Probably immediately, by the way. All right, Dr. Wood, how to win stages. What do you do? I'm turning it over to you right now. If you'll talk to us for a few minutes here. Thank you all for out there. We love every single one of you. Over to you.
All right, so look, let's just start by first of all, I can't be super loud because I don't want them coming in like, dang, you sure are excited. But I am excited. So just know that even though I'm not as loud as I want to be, I'm excited. I'm super excited to be here. Can we just first give some love to Shay in the chat, because he's holding it down. He's always talking about, you the Beyonce, I'm the Destiny's Child. No. Okay, I don't know how it's gonna sound if I say we both Beyonce, but we both are Beyonce. So y'all give some love to Shay in the chat. Just say, thanks for holding it down, Shay. We love you, Shay, because he is giving all kind of gems and nuggets. I know how he rolls. He always kind of underestimates the impact that he has, but we gonna remind him, no, we need you in this building, because he is the sales guru. And the reality is, you can have this amazing mission that you want to share, amazing message, an amazing movement that you want to start. You can want to be on stages all you want, but at some point, if you are not monetizing it, you will lose the energy that you have for pouring yourself into it. How many of you know that when you give yourself to something, when you pour all of yourself into something and there is no return ever, when there's no return, you will lose your steam, you lose your fuel for that thing. Yes or yes in the chat. Yes or yes in the chat. If you know that when you give and you give and you give and you give and you give, and I'm gonna give some more, and you give and you give and you give, it doesn't matter. You serving from this heart space, you love what you do, you're giving, but there is never a return. You will lose your fuel for that thing. And none of us have the time to lose our fuel for this thing called sharing your voice, because there are too many lives that are dependent upon you sharing your voice. There are too many lives and transformations that are dependent upon you showing up and staying fueled. So we want to make sure that we talk about both. We talk about impact, but we also talk about sales and monetization, because that's going to keep us in the game. And the sales and the monetization will also allow us to make a greater impact. Because how many of you also know that it takes money to be able to go and travel to the places that you want to travel to make the impact that you want to? You want to be able to write that check to an organization that is a part of your heart space, a charitable organization, or you want to support something that's a philanthropic initiative. You want to be able to launch a movement. You want to be able to build a school. Whatever the thing is, it requires money. It has to be financed. So we can have this conversation for the full week about impact and not talk about the money that goes with it. So as we continue our conversation,
and Cheryl, can I jump in for just a second, Dr. Woods, just a second? You know, for those that have a heart to give, you have a heart to serve, you want to have more income and more impact, and you are ready to have more money and more meaning, do me a favor, just so you can share that, right? You know, you talk about vision boards and so forth. Just put it in the comments now, like just look right below and just put, I want to retire my parents. That's something I wanted to do, and I was unable to do that, but I can take care of my mom so well now. That's a blessing. Maybe I want to send my kids to a school of their choice. Maybe they want to go to an out-of-state school or college, and it's going to take money to do that. And you want to be able to make sure you can do that. I want to write a check to my children's sports or to their school. I want to be the person that buys all the stuff they need for their PE class. I want to make sure everyone has a book, and you want to write that check, or you want to support a cause. Just what are you going to do with the money for someone else? Put that down in the comments, and I want that to be front and center. Yes, you're going to speak, you'll transform lives, and that'll happen. But at the end of the day, if you don't think money solves almost every problem on the planet, you haven't given enough money away. Hey, pay my mortgage this month. Maybe you just want to pay your mortgage off. Okay. That'll put a smile on my face. That'll give me a whole lot of happiness, or as they say, park me in the front of happiness, and I'll knock at the door and I'll ask Happy to come on out. Anyway, over to you, Dr. Woods. I'm not going to interrupt again, but it's so important, because that's what it's all about. How not you just leave a legacy when you're gone for someone else, but the change you get to see while you're here. And that's why you in business, I believe. That's why I got in business. All right, Dr. Woods, over to you.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And I love the responses that we're seeing that are coming in. So you got to connect it to what you most desire. And that doesn't have to look like, we talked about that yesterday, it doesn't have to look like what anybody else's desire is. It can be specific to you and your desires. So I want to jump right in because I know we're on a time frame, and I want to jump into some of the ways that I am able to get booked and highly paid to speak on stages. First of all, I'm not a fan of the word booked. I like the word hired, because if you go to a place of employment and you sit and you have an interview, at the end of that interview, you want them to say, "You're hired," not, "Oh, we booking you." Because booking, I oftentimes feel is, and I know this might seem so small and menial, but I think that the words that we use are powerful. And so I want to be hired for the services and the value that I bring to a company, a corporation, an association, a federal government agency, a conference, whatever it is. I want to be hired. When at the end of an interview, if they say you're hired, the next conversation is going to be something related to compensation. Yes or yes, y'all. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? So we want to make sure that when we are having conversations with decision makers, we are using the terminology of being hired to come and speak for an organization, association, what have you. So always think about that. Anyone can book you, and booking you doesn't mean that it always comes with monetary compensation. But if you are being hired, there is typically an expectation of a monetary compensation. So, how do we get hired on more stages? Number one, well, let's say the top two. The first two things that we always have to make sure is that we have a title and a message. A title and a message. And that's one of the things that Shay just had you guys to do, was type in what is that title that you want to share, that topic that you want to share. Now, here's the thing about the title and the message. You want to have a title that is clear and clever. Put that in your notes. My title must be clear and clever. I'll explain that in a moment. And number two, my message must be relevant and relatable. My message must be relevant and relatable. So when I talk about your title, let's go back and talk about title, and title being clear and clever. Oftentimes it's one or the other, it's not both. So you might have someone who gives a clear title. It's direct, it's to the point, you know exactly what it is, but it's boring. That's what I mean when I say clever. Then on the opposite end, you might have someone who has a clever title, but I have no clue what the heck it's about. I have no clue what you're going to teach me in this title. And then sometimes our titles are more about us than about them. That's also an additional piece of it. Making sure that the title is really impactful for the audience that you're going to be serving. If the title is just about you, that doesn't always magnetize me to come. I want to hear your story. I want to hear that in the presentation, but I mostly want to know what's in it for me. WIIFM. So is my title clear and clever? And then number two, is my message relevant and relatable? And when I say relevant and relatable, I mean, is it relevant to what's happening in the lives of my audience today? It does not matter what was going on 6 months ago. It does not matter what was happening in their lives or their businesses or their careers 12 months ago. No, what's happening today? What challenges are they facing? What problems are they having? What issues do they need to resolve? What solutions do they need to create? What desires do they have today? That is a must. Is it relevant? And then, is your message relatable? And the relatable piece really does hone in on what we talked about yesterday, which was showing them that you relate to the pain that they're in because you were there before, or that you can relate to the desire that they want to feel because you at one time wanted to feel that same desire, and therefore you understand what they're going through. You understand the process, you understand the journey. So is my message relevant and is it relatable? Those two things are critical. Everybody got that? Everybody got that? I see you taking notes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's keep moving. So now you have this title that's clear and clever. You have this message that's relevant and relatable. The way that I get hired on more stages and that you can get hired on more stages is making sure that your speech is number one, that every time you give a speech or a presentation, that it is unforgettable every time. And sometimes what happens is we diminish a speech that we're giving to 10 people because we wished it was 100 people. Whew. I know I'm gonna step on a couple toes today. It's okay. Sometimes we need to hear these things out loud so that we can remind ourselves. Are you in this for, as my friend Ruben West used to say, for applause or for a cause? Which one? Applause or a cause? And applause is beautiful and that's great, but that hopefully is not the reason that you're in this thing. You truly want to have an unforgettable conversation whenever you're taking the stage, whether it's in front of 2 people, 10 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people. And if you condition your mind that way, that every time I get a mic in my hand, every time I get that virtual stage or that live stage, I'm going to make it unforgettable for the people who show up, that will speak volumes when other people are seeing you present and they will want you on their stage. Now, none of the things that we're sharing, none of the strategies that we're sharing, we're not promising this is going to happen tomorrow, but your consistency will lead to your credibility, and your credibility will lead to your profitability. Y'all need me to repeat that? Your consistency will lead to your credibility, and your credibility will lead to your profitability. So you've got to be consistent in delivering a powerful presentation every time you get the mic, every time you get the stage. I don't care if it's 2 people or 10 people or 100 people. And I don't care if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 60 minutes. So it doesn't matter how many people you're talking to, doesn't matter how much time. You can make massive impact in 5 minutes. You can touch people's hearts in 5 minutes. So whether you get a 5 minute, a 10 minute, a 15 minute, 30 minute, or 60 minute, make sure that you utilize your time wisely in touching the hearts of people. Why? Because emotion is what stirs people into action. And I know some of us are very technical speakers and I don't want it to be fluffy. It's not about being fluffy. It's about reaching the core of who people are. And how do you reach the core of who people are? You bring into the conversation real issues that they're dealing with right now, so that they know that you understand, they know that you get it, but most importantly, they know that you care enough to want to bring into the conversation a solution. Number two, if you want to get hired for more stages, strategically leverage social media to magnetize more interest. What do I mean by that? I mean, number one, when we talk about strategically leveraging, you've got to know, where are the people that you want to hire you? Where are they? If you want to be hired by corporate, why are you on Facebook posting all the time? You need to be over on LinkedIn. So you've got to know where the people who can hire you, where they're playing, where they're hanging out at, where they congregating at. Are you going to certain events where people who are decision makers for corporations play? Are you a part of MPI, Meeting Professionals Incorporated, International, Meeting Professionals International? Are you a part of organizations that will get you in the space with people who are bringing in and hiring speakers who speak on the topic that you speak on? Consistently show up. Let's go back. Now, I know I took that from social media into live because both are important, but let's backtrack to social media. So for social media, one of the things that I do is I make sure I'm playing on LinkedIn, because in the past year and a half, I've really expanded my speaking to go more into corporate spaces. And I'm very intentional in how I play there. That's the strategy when we say strategically leverage. So I'm a God-fearing woman. I believe in God. I know why I am where I am right now. I know that He's the one that's opened the doors of opportunity for me. It's not on my own strength, right? He adds His super to my natural so I can have the supernatural strength to be able to get into the rooms I'm in and to be able to play and to be able to communicate and be able to get those contracts and deals. But the reality, guys, is when I'm over on LinkedIn, I know that there are CEOs and there are recruiters and there are training and development people over there who can hire me. And most times when I'm going into corporate America, the two things I am always asked to avoid are conversations about politics and religion. So why would I be over on LinkedIn and every post that I post is about God? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Give me a yes or a yes, a yes or a yes. Because some of you just feel like, well, that's just who I am. I just am who I am. And it just is what it is. And I'm going to talk about God and I'm going, okay, then stop telling me what you want, because you are not willing to do what is required to play in the spaces that you say you want to play in. And let me tell you about me. I don't have to say God for you to feel the God in me. I don't have to say the word God. I don't have to say Jesus for you to feel the God in me, for you to know that I'm a spiritual being. That's going to come out in me regardless. You're going to know where I stand. It comes out in my stance. However, the same way I would not go dressed the same to McDonald's as I would to Ruth Chris Steakhouse is the same way that you have to approach your speaker business. Stop thinking that, oh, you just going to be who you are and they just got to accept you. Well, that's why you still broke. That's why you still not getting hired, because you are not willing to show up in the spaces based on the boundaries that have been created in that space. I have to, when I go to Ruth Chris, I know I have to show up a certain way. I can't come in my tennis shoes and my sweatpants. I know that there's a dress code. Well, there is a speaker code when you're going into certain spaces. Are you fulfilling and abiding by the speaker code, just like you would a dress code if you wanted to get into certain restaurants? So for me, that has served me very well, is making sure that when I'm in whatever social media space I'm playing in, that I'm leveraging it based on who I'm marketing to, or advertising to, or trying to attract in that space. Let me tell you about LinkedIn. Because I've been consistent with my messaging, and because I have been strategic with making sure that the messaging is appropriate for the people that I'm trying to magnetize in that social media platform, NASA hired me from LinkedIn. I never met the lady one day in my life, didn't know her, didn't know she knew me, but she had followed my stuff, my postings on LinkedIn for 6 months, almost close to a year. And then she had a budget and she was looking to hire some speakers and reached out to me randomly and invited me in, and they paid me my full speaker fee, and they purchased 125 copies, autographed copies of my book. Y'all, that was because of my consistency in my messaging on LinkedIn. It was because I knew who I was playing to on that space, and I made sure that I followed the speaker code for that space. Does that make sense, everybody? I got another opportunity to speak for a big corporation. I cannot call out the name because that's in part of my contract, but it's a big company. And they also found me on LinkedIn and hired me and paid me my full speaker fee. Now, my full speaker fee is $15,000, and I have no problem sharing that. That's my fee. They paid me my full speaker fee based on what they saw on LinkedIn. So I make sure that my LinkedIn profile is current, it's up to date, and then I make sure I'm strategic with what I'm speaking about and sharing the messaging that I'm sharing on LinkedIn, and I'm consistent with my messaging. I'm not all over the place. One week I'm talking about this thing, then the next week I'm talking about something else. No, I'm an expert in communication and public speaking, as well as leadership. So if you need a speaker in those categories, communication, public speaking, leadership, guess what? You can hire me. Right now, I don't come out and say, hey, you can hire me, but what I'm posting and what I'm sharing is relevant and relatable to people who are hiring for those spaces and those topics, and therefore they're able to find me. And that's another thing, being findable. Being findable. Like, are you findable? So one of the things that drives me crazy is when people have, let's say, Instagram, let's say you're hanging out there and you have your account locked and it's private. Why are you on social media to be private? Like, it just makes no sense to me. Now, it's different if you have a personal account that's private and then you have a business account or a professional account that's open. But y'all, you can't be on social media trying to be private. Why are you here? You want people to find you. So you absolutely have to be findable, and then there has to be a consistency to the messaging that you are sharing once they find you. Let me give you really quickly 7 ways that I use to be able to get paid on stage. And let me also kind of clear up a myth. And I hope I don't lose my I hope I'm gonna talk quickly because my battery is dying and I don't know where. I don't even see a cord in here. I mean, I have a cord, but I don't see a place to
No worries, no worries.
So look, I'm gonna go through this really quickly before my battery dies. So I want to clear up a myth really quickly. One of the myths is the only way to cross 6 figures or 7 figures or even 8 figures as a speaker is through paid speaking only. Please scratch that from your mindset, your memory, your thought processes, everything you've ever learned. Unlearn that. That should be an unlearned belief. No, you do not only cross 6 figures, 7 figures, or 8 figures through paid speaking. That's one way. And how many of you know that anytime you put all of your eggs in just one basket, you are setting yourself up for failure? So stop thinking that the only way that you can create great money and profits is through paid speaking only. There are a number of ways. And so I'm going to share some of the ways that I use to get on stages and get paid. Number one, paid speaking. That's the one that we all want. That's the one that we love. And I gave you a few little strategies that you can use. The last two that I didn't share, which I'll share now, is number one, boldly request referrals. So we talked about giving an unforgettable presentation every time so that you are likable and people want you on their stage. Number two, strategically leveraging social media, making sure your message is consistent, making sure that you are playing according to the speaker code for whatever space platform you're playing in. Number three, boldly requesting referrals, and that includes from the people who hire you for opportunities. Ask them, hey, so do you know other departments in your company that might benefit from the presentation today? Hey, do you know other companies, organizations who might benefit from being able to experience what your company experienced today? And then ask them for an introduction to at least 3 people who might be able to benefit. Sometimes you'll get hired by a company, but you'll get hired by a specific department. But there are multiple departments in that company that can hire you because they each have their own separate budget. Don't forget that. Oh, there's just so much I can share. So anyway, let me stay focused, Shay. Let me stay focused. Number 4, talk to more decision makers. And that simply means getting in the room with the people who make the decisions. And that is, where are the people hanging out? Is it SHRM, the Society of Human Resources Management? Is it MPI, Meeting Professionals International? Where do I need to be? Where I can connect with people who are in the corporate space, if that's where you want to play, in the corporate space, and be able to rub shoulders with people who I can articulate what I do, what my speaker topics are, or my messaging is, and at least start to nurture a relationship. Most times, the things like the NASA thing and the other company that I can't call out the name, that happens sometimes, but that's not something that is a consistent, right? Like, that's hoping that they find you. I don't want to hope people find me. I want to hunt. Type in the chat, I'm ready to hunt. I'm ready to hunt. And being ready to hunt means you get out and you seek what you want. You go out and you find the people who can stroke the check and write the check. You find who are the decision makers. You ask questions. You ask for referrals boldly. Like, you've got to be a hunter. And if you don't hunt, you don't eat. So I got a good appetite. So I want to eat, which means I'm always hunting. So now, number 1 is paid speaking. That's what we want. We want to seek for that. That will happen sometimes. Oftentimes that will come through credibility. Oftentimes that will come because someone heard you speak on a stage and you wowed them and they invite you to their stage. Sometimes it happens because there's someone who knows you and that person happens to be in a decision-making role or has the ear of the decision maker and the person who can write the check, and they put your name in the hat, like it was for me with Prudential. Someone knew me through my entrepreneurial journey, but that person had a position in corporate America and for Prudential, and they put my name in the hat for a speaking opportunity, and I ended up getting booked or hired and paid by Prudential for a virtual keynote presentation. So sometimes it's just based on people and what they know about you. So you've got to make sure that people know that you're a speaker. You got to make sure that they know what you do and what your topic of expertise is if you're going to do paid speaking. Here's the other big thing about paid speaking. You got to know your fee. Like, you can't be the person who's humming and hawing about your fee. Or y'all know how speakers play that game. You're on a call with a decision maker and they get to the part where they say, well, what's your fee? And you're like, well, how much you got? And you might not say it like that, how much you got, but you might say, well, what's your budget? 99.9% of the time, the company is not just going to tell you their budget. They're just not going to reveal their budget, right? Because your fee could be 5,000, but their budget is 10. So they're not going to tell you 10 because then you're going to say your fee is 10. So most times, even when you ask that question, they're going to bounce it right back to you. And they're going to say something to the effect of, well, we're still sorting out the budget. So we just want to know what's your fee. So you still got to be ready to be able to articulate your fee. So find a fee, stick with the fee, own the fee, and practice saying the fee over and over and over again. Now, I'm sure in our boot camp that we're going to do, I will go into deeper strategy about how to set your fee. We just don't have time to do that today. But know that you have to have a fee and own the fee. And there's something called fee integrity. Type this in your notes. Fee integrity. And fee integrity is when you are not bouncing around town and telling different people different fees because of how much you think they have or how much you think they will pay. No, your fee is your fee is your fee. there's something that's possible called waive your fee. You can choose to waive your fee. You can choose to adjust your fee. You can choose to negotiate your fee, but your fee is always your fee. And if you're bouncing all around town and you're giving different people different costs, guess what? Those decision makers, they cross each other's paths and they're going to talk about that. And now you're going to be someone who's known in the market as lacking fee integrity. So it really does matter that you identify a fee, you stick to the fee, you own the fee, and you always state that fee. Number two, second way that I get hired to get on stages or I get paid to be on stages is through speak to sell opportunities. So a lot of times speakers get, it never ceases to amaze me how quickly speakers will get ego. Yeah, leave your ego at the door. Type that in the chat. Leave ego at the door. Leave ego at the door. Like you done got a couple speaking engagements or a couple people done paid you a couple dollars and now you the it. You the it. And oh, they can't come to you and even talk to you about speaking unless they got 10 grand or 15 grand. Oh, I get paid to speak. Well, so do I. I get paid to speak too, but I don't always get the check from the company. Sometimes I get the check from the people who are in the room. I don't care how I get the check, as long as I get the check. So stop being so egotistical and feeling like you have to turn down speaking engagements if they don't come with a big check. It doesn't mean you can't earn a big check. So you just have to know that there are speak to sell opportunities that will allow you to earn not only your fee, but more than your fee. Typically, most speakers are closing on average at the low end, y'all, 10% of the room. So if you get 100 people, and there are 100 people in the room, right? The company, the organization, the conference, they put 100 people in the room and they give you permission to sell. And your package is, I don't know, let's just say it's a $497 package because that seems like a reasonable package. Let's go lower. Let's say $297, and it's a $297 package. And there's 100 people in the room, and only 10% say yes. That's 10 people out of 100. So you don't need everybody. And those 10 people out of 100 people say yes to your $297 package. Guess what you just generated? 297 times 10 people is $2,970 for what? 30 minutes on stage? You didn't do heart surgery. You got up and you shared a valuable message. And so not only did you clear that 2970, so basically let's call it 3 grand. Not only did you clear that 3 grand in that room, but you don't know what they're going to sign up for next. And so some of you are so consumed with the short game that you forget the long game. Some of you are so consumed, overly consumed with the short game that you forget the long game. And the long game is if you serve people well, they will always come back to be served again. If I go and I enjoy a great meal, what am I coming back for? Seconds, sometimes thirds, or I'm going to come and I'm going to visit that restaurant and then I'm going to bring my friends with me because the food is so good. If you serve people well, you will never run out of money. You will never run out of opportunities. So that goes back to what we talked about earlier about giving an unforgettable presentation. So just think about that. Now, that was $29.70, but that was at the low end. If we double that and we multiply that times 2 because you closed 20% of the room, which means you would close 20 people in the room of 100 for your $297 offer, now you just generated $59.40. So you brought home $6,000 for what? A 60-minute keynote? So do not sleep on the opportunities to speak to sell. It is all about perspective, and get out of your way by having ego about someone having to stroke you a check for you to come and share your message. Number 3, third way that I get paid on stages is through revenue share opportunities. We call it rev share, right? But it stands for revenue share. And it simply is a company will say, hey, we're hosting this XYZ event. We would love for you to come and speak. We don't have a budget. Now I get to say, yes, I want to play, or no, I don't want to play. And revenue share is very similar to speak to sell, except I've got to give a percentage of whatever I earn to the house. The house is the company who put together the organization. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, why would I do that? Well, number one, because a percentage of something is better than a percentage of nothing. Number 2, it gets you in front of an audience who don't already know about you or perhaps have not already experienced you, which means that's new customers in your sales funnel. And number 3, because then after you serve them and you pay off that percentage to that company, whatever the percentage is, it might be 60-40, it might be 70-30, whatever percentage you pay, then now they're on your campus. They come into your campus, your community, your tribe, and who only knows what else they're going to spend beyond whatever you offered at that event. So rev share is simply you are sharing whatever it is that you generated from your offer at that conference, convention, event, whatever it might be. Does that make sense, everybody? So the reason that you would say yes is because one of our jobs as speakers is to get our message in front of as many people as possible. And that means a constant influx of new prospects, but also our recurring, repeat, loyal customers. So you need both, not one or the other. You need both and. So revenue share is a great way for you to get in front of more people who can kind of taste test your offerings, and then you can move them up the ladder to whatever the next offer is. Number 4, I do lead generation. Again, a lot of people will let their ego run them, and they're like, well, they told me I can speak, but I can't sell anything, and all I can do is lead generate. All you can do is lead generate? What? like that's rule 101 in business and in speaking, is get in front of more people. And then after you get in front of more people, get in front of some more people, and then keep getting in front of more people. Why? Because there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and you have not touched all of them. You haven't touched half of them. You haven't touched a quarter of them. So then why are you acting like you don't need lead generation? Why are you acting like you don't need to fuel more people into your sales funnel so that you can offer them whatever it is that you're selling? So lead generation is huge. If I go to an event, if I speak at an event and it's virtual, and there are 1,000 people virtually who show up, and I only get, let's just say I get 10% of the 1,000 people, 1,000 times the 10%, that's 100 new leads. If I close 10%, I'm giving y'all the lowest numbers possible. If I close 10% of those new 100 leads, that's 10 people that I'm closing, and I close each of them into a $5,000 program. Guess what? 5,000 times 10, I just generated $50,000 from a lead generation opportunity. So again, leave ego at the door. Do not sleep on the opportunity when someone says, well, you can't sell, but you can lead generate. Because if you do it right, if you play the game right, if you serve well, if you give them something that's yummy and good, even in the lead generation, the free thing, they will come for more, because now you have whet their appetite, as we say. You whet their appetite and they want more. Number 5, these are the last 3, y'all. 5. I know Shay said I had 5, but I got 7. Number 5, speaker sponsorship. And speaker sponsorship is when you say, hey, there is this event, this conference, this thing that I really want to speak at. But really my only in, because they have not extended the invitation for me to speak, but my in is through sponsoring the event. Now that requires an upfront investment that you can get a return on investment on the back end. So what I would do is I would go into an organization. I would say, hey, I would love to sponsor at this level. You choose what level you want to play at. And then what I do is I go through with a fine tooth comb at everything that's included in the deliverables for that sponsorship. And then I pull out what are the things that don't serve me well as a part of that sponsorship. Like, this isn't a win for me. Having access to this thing isn't a win for me. Sometimes I've seen people who have in their sponsorship that you get a $500 certificate towards their products. I'm like, that doesn't add value to me. This doesn't add. So I pull out everything that really doesn't add the highest level of value to me. And instead, what I do is I replace it with an opportunity to speak on their stage. And so I come back to the person and I say, hey, I'm really interested in sponsoring at the $2,500 level. I see that these are the deliverables. There are really 3 that don't add a great high level of value to me. This one, and this one. Would you be open to me replacing that with being able to speak on stage for 15 minutes in place of those 3? So I would still do the $2,500 sponsorship, but instead of these deliverables, I would request an opportunity to just get in front of the entire group on your main stage for 15 minutes. All I need is 15 minutes. Would you be willing? Y'all, I've never had anybody turn down a sponsorship. Have you ever had anybody turn down a sponsorship? They want money for that event. So literally, I am going in and I am tweaking the sponsorship to fit what I need. And then what am I doing as a part of the sponsorship once I get on the stage? Hello. Now I'm going to educate, and I'm going to inform, and I'm going to inspire, and I'm going to engage the audience, because 2 things are happening every time I'm on stage. Number 1, I am auditioning for my next speaking engagement. Y'all put that in your chat. I'm just saying. I'm auditioning for my next speaking engagement. And number 2, I am offering or extending, let me reframe that. I am seeding interest for the people in the room to be able to come and work with me through one of my courses or my programs. So I'm auditioning and I'm seeding. I'm auditioning and I'm seeding. And both are equally valuable in your business. And I just shared with you some numbers. Like, it doesn't have to be, we've got to stop thinking as speakers that the return has to be an immediate monetary return. Your monetary return might come 3 months down the road. It might come 6 months down the road from that one person who decides to sign up for your $20,000 program. Was it worth it for you to go and speak for free, as y'all say? And you're never free, right? Because there's always some negotiation that happens. So stop calling yourself free. You're not a free speaker. You just made a decision, a informed decision to waive your fee or negotiate your fee. So whatever you're doing, whether it's through sponsorship, whether it's through rev share, you're not speaking for free because you're going in with the expectation that there's going to be a return on that investment at some point. Yes? So critical. All right, let me give you the last, where are we? The last two. Last two are number 6, visibility investment, and number 7, creating your own stages. So number 6, visibility investment. Visibility investment is when you want to be on a stage because you know that it enhances your credibility and it expands your speaker portfolio. All of you should have a portfolio. And that portfolio should consist of organizations that you have been able to go and to pour into. So if you look at my speaker portfolio, I've spoken for NASA, I've spoken for Prudential, I've spoken for Capital One, I've spoken for Verizon. Verizon hired me 6 times for their women's group. And the list goes on. Like I've spoken for the United Nations, I've spoken for numerous law firms. I won't waste your time giving you all the names, but my portfolio is very vast. So you can never be the speaker who is not constantly expanding your portfolio. And as you're expanding your portfolio, it shouldn't be some stuff you did 5 years ago. No, what did you do in the last 6 months? Who have you spoken for in the last 3 months? And if you have not, then maybe you need to be investing in the opportunity to get on stages so that you can expand your portfolio, you can expand your impact, but also you can go into either lead generation, or if the organization or company allows you to sell, whatever it is, make it work for you. So have a system, if you will, of how you're going to maximize every opportunity. So you should be thinking, if I'm able to get on that stage, here's how I would leverage it. Here's how I would maximize it. And you know that before you ever invest in getting on the stage. Don't just invest in being on the stage and being able to share your voice and have no game plan. No, you need to have a process, and you need to have a game plan of how you're going to leverage it and then maximize it. And then you should be asking yourself, and what am I going to do after it's done? After I've done the speaking, after I've been on that stage, then how am I going to use it to be able to attract more people to me? How am I going to use it to be able to enhance my credibility? That has to be a game plan. And then last but not least is number 7, create your own stages. And this is something that I spoke about the other day. You will always hear me speaking about creating your own stages as a way to get paid, because now you always want to make sure, here's the key. Anytime you're creating your own stage, virtual or live, you must keynote your own events. Always be on the keynote flyer or graphic. You should always be a keynoter. So it's fine if you hire keynotes, but you should also be amongst the keynotes. So if you go to speakerconconference.com, or if you go into our SpeakerCon virtual group in Facebook, you're going to see the flyer, the main graphic for SpeakerCon, and you see 3 keynote speakers. Valerie Burton is a keynote this year. JJ Virgin is a keynote this year. And who's dead smack in the middle? Dr. Cheryl Wood. It's my event. I'm not going to throw a party, and I'm not even on the ticket at the party. So some of you you're excited about hiring, and you're excited about bringing other amazing speakers in, and that's beautiful. But you should also be a valued voice at your own events. And then that means that should lead to, what am I going to sell, or what am I going to offer at the event when people do come in? Because they're going to be people who come for the Valerie Burtons. They're going to be people who come to see the JJ Virgins, but they're going to be people who are coming for you. You are the main attraction, right? So you want to make sure that you give them something worthwhile and valuable as a part of being the main attraction. And I'm going to end right there because it is 2:02, and I'm going to turn it back over to Shay.
Let's give it up for Dr. Cheryl Wood. She's at the hospital, as she mentioned earlier, so she's going to have to scooter, as we like to say, move on. But for those folks that there's 2 scooter. Okay. There's 2 homework assignments, because the thing's going to go down in a second. 2 homework assignments, and I'll take you off in a moment, Doc. The first homework assignment I want everyone to do, whether you're listening to this live, or you're watching it right now, or you're listening to the recording, go into the group, do your best. And I want you to take your phone out, and I want you to record. My keynote is how to build a 7-figure sales team, let's say, and then take a few minutes, no more than 5, and talk about why it's important. And so I want you to practice that, right? And then if you want to type it in so we can read it, I want you to do that. Now I'm going to go back, Dr. Cheryl would as well. We're going to look at those, right? And I'll give some feedback. She's doing feedback on the first one, right? The first one you're doing feedback is on your story. And later this week, we'll get to that. We'll be talking about tomorrow, scale beyond the stage, create high-end coaching programs and compelling offers that have your ideal clients begging to buy. But inside that's going to be some captivating story that you do. We already know that, right? Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to take you off. Oh, she's still there for a second. I'm going to then go in and everyone that posts, here's my topic. Now, do the best you can, okay? The reason I want you to share it is that maybe you're on the phone with Dr. Wood and there's an opportunity to speak. And she's in charge of bringing you in as the speaker at the Department of Defense. And she says, hey, just take a moment. What is it? I mean, what do you talk about? Can you tell me a little something about it? And that's an opportunity for you to do two things, for you to share, here's my keynote, but the keynote has to capture their attention, as she said, but then they're listening for the relevant and relatable in what's one of the problems that you solve that helps their organization. And in that moment, you can't say, well, what do you want? And I can tell you what you want. It's, well, here's one of the things that I do. I can always customize it. And that's a topic for another time. When you get into it, one of the things Dr. Woods couldn't get into now is, yeah, she might have this topic, but when she gets into the conversation and she sparked the interest, then you can get into customization. The biggest challenge a number of folks have, and I was like this and still am this day, is always, what is my topic going to be? And do I change it now? Do I not change it? What if they don't want that? No. I understand you can have several. For the homework assignment, get your phone out because we want to hear you. We're speakers, some of your authors, some of your coaches, some of your experts, some of you are now in the self-education industry. And I want you to get used to hearing your voice. Like, I got a note, I'm not gonna mention her name. She said, Che, I recorded 7 times because I didn't like how I sounded. And I didn't like how my story sounded. To me, that's cool. I'm the same way. Okay, so it's okay. You play it, and if you can't understand it, then do it again. And then do it again. So commit to about 10 minutes or maybe 20 minutes for some of you. We're gonna review it. What's the value of that? Another $2,000 value. Just Cheryl taking a look at it. When you do it, post it into the group and then put, here's my keynote topic so we can all read it. And then post your video. Now, if you're listening and you're watching right now that you're out there, I want you to go in. You might watch 1, 2, or 3 and tell them what you enjoy most about their topic, what your view of the world was. So we can all share. We can all be in this together, right? So success is a team sport. You can only get so far by yourself. Dr. Wood, I know you got to run, but for those folks out there, I want to also share something that you can do. And Dr. Wood, before I take you off, I want you at least to wave goodbye. And she'll be in the background in the room, but I'm going to chat about 2 things. Some of you had texted in as well and said, Shay, where do I text in about the boot camp? When does that happen? You just got to text and we'll get you guys the details. Tomorrow is about scale beyond the stage. You don't want to miss it. Ooh. Creating high ticket coaching programs and compelling offers to have folks begging you. Okay, so you're on the stage and she talked about that. Dr. Wood, before I give them a special bonus that I'm going to do today to help those folks that are going to redo their story, for those folks that didn't do it on day 1, guess what you get a chance to do? You get a chance to do it again today. Okay, and you say, well, I don't have time to do it. Don't worry, I don't have time to listen to it. But if you do it, I'm going to find the time to listen to it. I'm not trying to be smart. I know I sometimes come across like that, Dr. Wood, but one of the things you and I committed to is that this is just not another, you come be entertained. I want you to walk away, be entertained and motivated and feeling good like you can walk on water. What I want you to do is walk away and say, I've got to speak, serve, and selling is serving a way to scale my blueprint. I have it right here. I practice it. I've got it. I may have to get better, or I was already really good and I took it to another level. Okay. That's the commitment that we made. Otherwise, there's other things I can do with my time. We could just record this and send it to you guys, to be honest with you. But we want you to get something at the end done and further towards being able to get on stage. And I want to be the person that says, okay, we have this. Now let's go ahead and offer this to the world for you while you do other stuff. Dr. Wood, I want you to take a moment to give your closing comments. You already did. You got to go. Your battery's going to die. Take a minute or 2, encourage them. And then, Dr. Wood, I'm going to go over just to give you a sneak preview. Let's see if this works, ladies and gentlemen. I'm expanding my comfort zone. I'm using this system that I've only used a handful of times at best. Let's see if I share my screen right. If I don't, share screen. Share screen. Oh crap. Sheesh. Okay, maybe this. Okay, share screen. Oh, okay. This is going to be a whole lot of work. This is going to be a whole lot of work. Look, 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 look. I thought I could just go in here and just share it. Okay, hold on, let me just try one thing. Is it Dr. Woods? Just tell them you see him. You see him tomorrow before you get kicked out of here.
I will. I am excited about seeing everybody tomorrow. I just want to end with this note since we're talking about, getting hired on more stages and selling and serving. Look, the reality is if you want to change more lives, you will speak on more stages and you will sell more of what you offer. Period. Like you cannot talk me to death and tell me about how much legacy you want to create and how much impact you want to make and how much transformation you want to create in the world, but you are not intentional about speaking on more stages more consistently, globally, and you're not selling more. Because the reality is, the more you sell, the more you get to serve. And we've got to start shifting our perspective about selling. I know that we have a lot of women who are a part of this challenge and our few good men, but a lot of women, and a lot of women through my own experience over the past 12 years in the speaker industry is that women struggle with having the conversation about money and charging for what they deliver. But the reality that I had to come to was, Cheryl, if you don't sell them something, their life will stay the same. They will not shift. And now you've shifted your life. Your life barely looks recognizable. How dare you not sell someone else something so that you can hold their hand into their new chapter, their next season? Like, we owe it to people to get on more stages. We owe it to the world. We owe it to our legacy to sell more. Because when you're on stage, and we'll talk about this through the rest of the week, but when you're on stage, you're in power zone, but you are not in profit zone until you make an offer. And until you make the offer and you step into profit zone, they don't go into transformation. So your power zone is connected to their inspiration, right? Their education, their edification. That's power zone. When you're given that amazing message and you're giving those thought-provoking questions and you're sharing your story, they're getting inspired, they're getting excited about their potential, but they are not being transformed until you step off that stage and you offer them a way to be able to walk into that reality that you promised them they could have on stage. And when they sign on the dotted line, the contract, or they swipe the credit card, or they hand you the check, or they pay the electronic invoice, that's when you go into profit zone and they go into transformation, because now they're actually going to receive the tools. They're going to receive the accountability that's necessary, the strategies that's necessary, the blueprint for them to be able to get what you said they could have on stage. So when we're on stage, we're promising people that they can have something better on the opposite side of what they're currently experiencing. But that's just a promise. That's a promise that they could have it. But they don't get to the promise just because you told them about it. They get to the promise by taking the next step, by being those people like us who actually execute. Knowledge is power, but knowledge executed is a superpower. So you're able to now usher them into that next by speaking more and by selling more. So I just want to encourage you to really open your mind to the idea that you are necessary in the world, that someone is a segment of the population, not just someone. Because sometimes we say, if I could just touch one, well, I don't want to just touch one life. I'm sorry, that's cute, but I want to touch millions of lives if I can. I want to touch billions of lives if God's so willing. So I don't want to just do one. That means I show up every day. I show up on divine assignment. That means I'm speaking on as many stages as possible. That means I'm intentional with what I'm saying when I'm on stage. I'm not just talking. I'm speaking life into other people's dreams, hopes, and possibilities. So that means I'm going to plan, prepare, and practice before I get on that stage, because I want everything I say to be intentional. I don't want it to just be I'm winging it or I'm just letting the Lord move me. Well, that can be a certain portion of the Lord moving you, but give the Lord something to work with. Give him something to work with, which means you planned beforehand, you practiced, you prepared what the message was going to be that you were going to deliver. So I'm going to get on as many stages as I can, in as many states as I can, as many countries as I can. And I'm going to make as many sales offers as I can, because that is how I know I'm helping to usher more people into transformation, not just inspiration and education.
And for those folks out there, you just heard the one and only Dr. Cheryl Wood. I just want to let you know you're off camera now, Dr. Wood, but she's in the background watching behind the stage. She's at the hospital now. for those folks that were wondering, what was she talking about this whole speaker con thing? If you're out there right now, you just want to check it out. It's one of the things that she's doing. So, you know, you can role model what folks are doing. You can go over to www.speakerconconference.com. If there's tickets available, you want to go ahead and click the button. So just go over to www.speakerconconference.com. And she gave an example of where she positioned herself and how she's interacting with other folks, right? And then we'll talk about, I think on day 4, we get on how to create and monetize your own stages. So if you're looking and saying, oh my gosh, what's one of the ways to do that? You can see that. Other folks out there, they sent me a text and said, Shay, can we put a link to our website? The answer to the question is yes. So when you do your homework, let me get to the homework, and I want to give you guys a really special bonus. When you get to the homework assignment is, you are going to pick up your phone and say, my keynote topic is, and this is one of your keynote topics, is on how to build a 7-figure sales team. And then tell us a story. You know, how did you come up with the topic and why the topic's important to you? And again, this is you, but that one clip, other folks are going to see it here. There's a lot of things take place. So you're doing that because that adds on to what you learned yesterday, which was a story. It allows you to get the topic out, allows you to talk about it. And if you don't know what it is, it's okay. Just, you know, you can say, hey, the topic I want to talk about is blank. Make sure this goes up. The topic I want to talk about is blank, but that's the homework assignment. And that's, I'll take a look at it. And I'm looking at it from a perspective, not did you do a good job, but what are some components that we can add so that if we was on the phone and you would outsource your sales department to us, I always say, if you don't want to sell, the best thing you can do is hire someone that does, or maybe you don't be the only salesperson. This is how we've positioned other speakers to get them booked and paid online. And here's some components you can add to it. So that's very, very important. That's number 1. Number 2, for those folks that are wondering about this special boot camp, some of you are going to learn through the 5-day challenge. That's cool. You have everything you need to be successful. We're not holding back. So you will have the speak, serve, and scale blueprint. And then some of you want to come in. Some of you want to be part of a small, elusive group, and they're going to make it so everyone can join live. And you want to come to a boot camp. And then over 2 days, you want to be able to say, oh, okay, now I've got my topic. Now I can go practice it. You want to have that recorded. You want to be able to walk away with that. That's cool. Some of you want me to walk away with your kit and say, this is my speaker kit. This is what I send. This is my online one sheet, or whatever it may be, by the way. It'll be happening at a boot camp. Dr. Cheryl will be there, and she will be teaching, okay? I will be there, and I will be teaching, right? And so if you're interested, just want to get all the details when we release it, be first on the list, you can text the word boot camp, text the word boot camp, text the word boot camp. Someone put that down in the feed right now. Text the word boot camp to get all the details to this number, 202. Get your phones out now if you just want to get it. It doesn't hurt you. Text it to 202-270-1662. Again, 202-270-1662. When you text the word boot camp to 202-270-1662, include your first name. Yes, we're going to send you the details. You're ready to go to a site and see what's going on when we release it. Text your first name so we know who you are. Text your last name so that we know who you are, because there's probably more than one Cheryl out there in the world, by the way. And text your best contact number. And the promise of that boot camp is when you walk out of there, not only will you have the framework and the infrastructure, but we're also going to take you behind the scenes and do something cool. Probably get a chance to do some actual recording. So some of you are like, wow, I want to come get some branding and marketing type of collateral. And also, when I practice my story, I want to be able to record it while I'm in that mode and walk away. And so you can use it again and again and again. You're going to use it on your landing page for your speaking page. Some of you are going to use it on your sales page. Some of you are going to use it on your webinar page. Some of you are going to take these images and start posting it in social media. Some of you are going to use it in other collateral. So I want you to be able to walk away, and I want to make sure that those that want to speak, those that want to serve, you have the capabilities, you have the tools, you have the resources to go change the world. Now, what I want to do here as a special bonus is I was listening to a number of the stories, and I know everyone didn't get a chance to do it, and I'm using StreamYard now. Y'all might help me here because I'm going to try to figure this thing out. Share a screen, and I just want to walk through a formula that I know is going to help every single one of you out there, by the way, and it's helped me. So it says here, entire screen. I guess that's what I want. Hit share. Well, okay, click on it. let me see this. Why is this? Okay, give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. Don't judge me. Okay, here we go. Let me go here. Hit share again. Never done this on this computer. Sometimes things can be uncomfortable. They're within your grasp. Here we go. Share. Okay, your system has lost permission to capture the screen. All right, so I'm not sure if y'all can see my screen or not because I can't see my screen. Darn it. Okay, I don't think you can see my screen. No, you can't see my screen. Okay, so let me share with you something that I want to share with you, which is called the success journey and the success loop. And it's one of the ways when you're speaking that you can do. Now, for those folks that want to get a copy of this, it'll be in the workbook. I thought I could show it. Maybe we'll use practice. Maybe we'll use Zoom next time. But it's called the success loop. And the success loop, if I can frame the conversation, is on your journey, on your story, there's one structure that you can tell. There's a lot of different methodologies. There's a lot of structure. So you can't see it right now, and I understand that. So one second, just give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I'm trying to find something to write on. 1 second. All right. This is bonus time, ladies and gentlemen. We're in bonus time. This is not part of what we're going to do, but you don't want to miss this because it's one of the formulas that I learned that's going to help you. And I'm going to draw it on here, but you get a copy of it. This is going to be interesting. I started doing something that I wasn't planning on doing, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you've done that. But when you're telling stories, Dr. Wood gave so many different ways to do it. I wanted to give the sales view of the world. And I wanted to make 2 points for captivating stories because you need those. She talked about many stories. There are stories that you tell from a sales perspective that are only for 2 reasons. Jot these 2 reasons down in your notes, please. And then I'm going to give you what's called the success loop. And this will change your life. You tell a story for 2 reasons: to overcome objections. You can't even read that, can you? It's probably blurry. To overcome objections and to bring the benefits to life. So when you're telling stories and you're weaving them through there, in your stories, you're either talking to some objections that the client may have about a number of things, or you're bringing the benefits of the system, the framework, the methodology, which you've been through, is kind of help them. And a number of folks always get stuck and they're like, Shay, where could I start? Like, if I want to tell a story and I want to use a certain formula, can you give me another formula based on all the formulas they've been taught, but in some cases doing a webinar, sometimes they're doing a master class. What are stories sometimes, or a way I can frame it so they're no longer just clapping with their hands, they're clapping with their wallet. Someone put that down, clapping with their wallet. And this is something that I'm going to draw up here now called the success loop. And I want you to take this out like this, and we're going to just draw like a little loop. And my life has been like one big loop. And I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, still, there's 10 boxes. I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to go through it a little slowly here. But this is going to help you. You might have to go back and hear the recording. So you're going to draw a loop. And on the loop, you're going to just put at the top, success loop. Everyone put that down in your notes, success loop. And then maybe I can clip this. I wonder if I can clip this and put this in there. Yeah, I might be able to do that. Hold on. I have an idea. Rule number 1 in these situations is, rule number 1, don't panic. That's always rule number 1. So I'm going to take something out of something I did before. And this is something that I learned. I'm going to copy paste it. Let's see if this works. Come on, Shay, you can do this. You can do this. Gosh, this was a good idea when I was sitting here by myself. Okay, I'm going to upload it into the group. So then I'm going to fill in the blanks. Come on, Shay, come on. Okay, upload. Give me a second. I can do this. My wife is really good at multitasking. Those that know me knows that Shay cannot multitask. I'm not good at it. She can talk to you and be texting and doing everything else at the same time. And I can, the success, I got to type 1 second, the success loop. Okay, we will go over boxes now. Okay, I'm gonna post it. I'm posting it into the group now. It's going through because I don't want to draw. I mean, I could do that. That's so 1980s. We're trying to draw something right now. And my computer's over here and the camera's here. So give me a second to take a look here. Do me a favor because I'm trying to keep this up and I got StreamYard on another tab. If you can see the success loop in the group, let me know if you can see it in the group. So if you can see it in the group. And this is one of the struggles I had was kind of sharing my own story, sharing what I went through in a way that I could communicate a message succinctly in an order and make it easy to understand and easy to execute. Everyone jot that down in your notes. Easy to understand and easy to execute. We're going to tie in the success loop with winning stages. We're going to tie in the success loop with some of you who got to get a video camera out and practicing. And although I've been through Toastmasters like many of you, by the way, although I've had some of the best training like many of you, and although I spent a ton of money learning how to speak like many of you, I get it. I always like to look at formulas because I believe that systems beat goals every single time. And there's probably, I don't know, 100 different formulas out there. And this is one of the ones that when I learned it, it changed my life. Systems beat goals every single time. So I'm gonna go through the success loop and walk you through it. And the reason I want to do this is some of you are really good at speaking and some of you may be like myself. And if you don't know, I recall when I was back in the 3rd grade working at Dale City Elementary School, and Miss Kurtz, who was my 3rd grade teacher. I love Miss Kurtz, by the way, beautiful woman. I still remember her to this day, probably my first fantasy woman. But she called me to the front of the room. And she called me to the front of the room because we had just finished reading the story and we were supposed to come up to the front of the room and talk about the story. And I remember coming to the front of the room and like many times I would stand in front of the room and I knew what I was going to say and I could hear the words here, but the words wouldn't come out. And the kids would start laughing and pointing at me again. And they had always laughed and joked since I was like in the 1st grade for as long as I can remember. I was like, and so in that moment, Ms. Kurtz took me down to the principal's office. My mom came to the school. The principal and my mom had a conversation while I'm there. So it wasn't like I wasn't there. And I remember the principal telling my mom that I had a severe stuttering problem and that they need to put me in another class to kind of help me. And I didn't understand what all that meant. I just knew it wasn't good. I mean, kids laughing and joking and me not being able to do what they were doing meant that I wasn't normal. And I found myself at home later with Mother Dear. And I remember Mother Dear, who is a bishop of a Pentecostal church. So everything I learned at a Pentecostal church. Don't judge me, please. But we had a small church, 35 members total. 20 of us was kids. That means I was one of the kids. That means I got into a lot of trouble. But the point I want to make is my mom was a bishop of a church, right? She's talking to me and she says to me, "You don't have a problem." Now I'm thinking I wasn't brilliant back then. I think I'm brilliant now, but I wasn't brilliant back then. But I knew something must be freaking wrong. Send me home, call my mom. You know, the principal's office is not good. She says, "You don't have a problem. You're just smarter than everyone else. And your brain can't think as fast as your mouth can talk. So just kind of slow down, but you're okay. You're smarter than everyone else." And I actually believe that. I mean, I believe that with every fiber in my body until I got to junior high school, right? And I noticed in the 9th grade, my mom lied to me. I'm not being funny. My mom lied to me. But a very severe stuttering problem. The reason I tell you that story and the point that I want to make is you might be like me when I'm looking back. Maybe you didn't have a stuttering problem, but you needed someone to believe in you before you could believe in yourself. And sometimes that kind of happens, right? So now as a speaker, and I'm telling you this, that myself and Dr. Cheryl Wood, we hold the belief, not you're going to get better as a speaker, not you're going to get better talking to people, but that you will get better at delivering the message to the people who you were called to serve. And in doing so, if selling is service and you buying that philosophy that's selling the service, then you'll serve more people, you'll make more money, you'll have more influence, and you will have impact. And if you believe that your speaking is serving and you believe that selling is serving, do me a favor. In the notes, if you're still here, in the notes in the bottom, just put selling equals service. Selling equals service. Just put that down, because I'm not saying because I'm a stutterer, I'm not a speaker. I'm not saying all the classes I went through and what I had to go through with therapy. I'm just telling you that selling is service, and selling is the service. I mean, selling is the door by which you got to walk through to be able to serve someone on the other side. I want you to hear me. I'm going to get into the success loop in a minute, but selling is the service. I mean, selling is the doorway. There's a doorway right here. I'm in my office now. If I turn that camera around, there's a door right there. And the only way I can serve is I got to sell, and I got to go through that door. And whatever product or service you're offering, that's just the sacred place for all the Christians out there, right? That's the sacred throne. That's the altar. That's the place people come to, whatever you're offering them, for the transformation to take place. And when Dr. Woods and I was talking, and this whole idea and concept, this is an idea we just had a couple weeks ago. This is not something we have been planning all year. It wasn't on our freaking agenda. It was a quick conversation we had, which is how can we find a safe place that people can come to and receive a transformation on any one day at any one time. And hence, you have the speak and sell. And so I believe right now, even if you don't believe, you're like, Shay, I'm the worst salesperson on the planet. I was that guy. Okay. Shay, I'm not the best speaker. I don't need you to be the best speaker, but I believe that you have a message, you have a story, you have an expertise that will transform someone's life. It will shift their business. And even if you don't believe you have the capabilities of doing that, I'm going to hold the belief for you. I was with someone this past weekend. They said, Shay, I know you said this and you said you really believed. I now believe. And I wasn't being funny. I said, I believed 8 months ago when we had the conversation. Because I believe. The law of belief is, put this in your notes, the law of belief is whatever you tell yourself over and over again, you will eventually believe. The law of belief is whatever you tell yourself over and over again, you will eventually believe. So in this self-education industry, in this place right now, is to go to $1 billion a day in revenue. In this space right now, more than any time on the planet, in my 54 years on the planet, people are more open to learning, to moving faster, to coming across another bridge ever before in history. I think I saw some stat that 82% of all Americans are rather leave their job and go do something else right now. 82%, the highest in decades. And you're coming along to have a piece that to support that is powerful. And through the power of these fiber optic lines, and for some of you on stage, you can impact so many more folks. So I'm glad to be on the journey with you. I'm going to teach you the success loop right now. And the success loop means we start with a very specific place, and then we work our way backwards, okay? And you can do it every single time, because life is like that. And I'll share it with you in the next few minutes. And then you can go practice the success loop. If you listen to the recording of this, you can take what I'm about to give you. I'll copy the other one and paste it. And you can put it right there, and you can use something like this that I just said. The good news is, if I can go from stuttering and go from bankruptcy and be on my third marriage, although I now have the love of my life and the happiest I've probably ever been in my 54 years on the planet, with someone I was in love with in high school. They didn't talk to me in high school because I wasn't a basketball player or a football player, and she was a star cheerleader. But that's topic for a topic. I can't get the topic for a different time. Just know that Kevin Hart's made us short guys cool again. And we're lots taller when we stay on our bank account. My wife hates it. I hope she don't hear this recording. She hates it when I say that. I'm telling you, you can do it as well. I believe in you. Okay. All right. Let's get into some real training. I got on a rant, but for all the folks that believe, I love Coach Primetime. I'm a Deion Sanders guy. Put in the notes right now, I believe. And that's a signal to anyone else out there that you believe, and they can just put I believe. Now, if you're still here, listen to the recording. I believe that I can be a speaker. I believe I can impact lives. I believe I was born to do more than I'm doing right now, or I believe I have the potential inside of me to perform at a much higher level. And not only do I believe it, but I'm willing to do something about it. And if that's you for the next 5 or 10 minutes, whatever, then I'm just talking to you. If the rest of you, this might not be a conversation for you, it's okay. It's okay. But for those that are out there, holla at your boy. Let's get going. Okay. I got to get serious now. So let's go to box number 1. When you're doing the success tool and you're on this journey, the first box over here is put down hard realization or incident. Put incident. So box number 1, you're going to put incident. An incident is something that took place and you took them to a very specific scene. You didn't give them the whole story. You took them to a scene. You took them to a slice. You gave them a piece of it. You went right to the action. I start off with there I was in Ms. Kurtz's class. Okay. That's an incident. Now, then box number two is put stacking self. Put stacking self. Stacking self, I'm gonna give you that in a moment. After stacking self, put another box and put reverse stack. Reverse stack. Just follow me because I wasn't planning on teaching this, but I want to share it with you. Some of you are looking right now, and some of you in the Facebook group. If you're in the Facebook group, you have the success loop. Darn, did I put that in there? I don't know if I put it in there. I thought I might have this other booklet. But you got an incident. Then you started self-stacking. Then you did the reverse stack. The next question is, put down, who do I not want to be? Who do I not want to be? Put that down. Who do I not want to be? And then underneath that, put down, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Put that down. Put that down. And then in the middle box, put projected painful future. Projected painful future. Put that down. Put that down. And then the next box, put compelling future. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can just send this to you. Wait. I have another idea, ladies and gentlemen. Wait. I'm gonna role model. I think I can just copy this. And this is gonna be in your handout. It'll be in your book for those that are getting the booklet and all that cool stuff. I'm trying to break down some of the techniques that you're seeing. Let me see here. Wait a second. Wait. Oh my goodness. This may work. Oh my gosh. Sometimes people think I make these things up. I don't. Okay. Okay. Where is the group? Here's the group. No, here's the group. No, that's not the group. Okay. Here's the group right here. All right. So I'm going to upload this now. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay. Okay. Use for your homework. Okay. Homework. Tell your story. Tell your story again. Tell your story again using this system, which I'm gonna do right now. System success loop. Now, the reason I'm doing that, it's okay to tell a story off the cuff. It's okay to use all the techniques, and all of them work. Just for fun, I like to come behind it and share different systems, because I believe the systems beat goals every single time. Systems beat goals every single time. So now I'm going to share what I teach. If you can see that in the group, so I know it went there. I'm hitting refresh on this thing a couple of times, and I don't see it yet. So I'm hitting refresh. And hopefully it's going to go in there. Let me go to here again. Okay, if you can see it, just post, Jay, we see it. Okay, darn it. May I close my browser? If you see it, just post in there. I see it. It's called Success Loop. I just uploaded it. Okay, good. Someone said I got it. Yay! Okay, good. Now let's teach the framework, and I'll teach it through a framework of a story. How's that? So I'll share a story, and you can share any story that near and dear to you. So there I was. I came home, and my wife tells me, Shay, this is not working. I'm out of here. And I recall being devastated because this was my second marriage, right? And I remember that when I was a kid, I'd always told myself that I would die before I would get a divorce. And that's because my parents were both divorced. They both remarried. So I had parents here, parents there, stepmom, stepdad. They were wonderful individuals. My stepfather was abusive, so that was a different situation of my mom and of us. And so I always told myself I would find someone that I would love, and I would love them, and I would not get a divorce. So when I got divorced the first time, it was like, I'm going to do nothing wrong the next time. I'm going to be the most perfect person in the world, and it should ever be a reason why. And so when she tells me, I had no idea. So now I'm devastated. Felt like a failure. And I didn't even tell my closest friends. I didn't tell my fraternity brothers either. For about 4 months after she had moved out, and she had left me. And during that time that she had left, I remember telling myself, I'm doing stacking now. If you want to know where I'm at, I'm in stacking. I recall telling myself that I just didn't have what it took to be married. That it might have been I didn't make enough money. Might have been because I had children. I just wasn't made for this. Maybe I'm not cut for it. There's no way I would get married a third time. Like, who would want to be with someone who's divorced 2 times and has 2 kids and the kids decide to move with me? I just thought that it would change the trajectory of my entire life, because I had been a junior deacon at church and I was very involved in the church. And, it don't happen to people like us, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was thinking. And I was very ashamed and very embarrassed. And then I had a conversation with my grandmother, who was alive at the time. And my grandmother tells me, don't worry. She says, Che Che. And she called me Che Che, the only person on the planet that ever called me freaking Che Che, by the way. But she said, Che Che, the sun will come up tomorrow. You'll be okay. And you forget all this. Now, she didn't tell me it would take 10 years for the sun to come up, But what it gave me the idea that if I wasn't getting married, how would my life be? Like, I would be the best father. I said, well, okay. I was happy, but maybe I didn't know what happiness was. And so I would go find what happiness just for me. And I started saying, wait a minute, I'll still be a director. At the time I worked for WorldCom. So, it's became MCI and then Verizon, but I'll be a director and I'll advance. And so I did something called reverse stack. First, you start talking about all the reasons why something won't work for you. And then reverse stack is you start having this internal dialogue about why things will work for you. See, Cheryl does that so well. You're thinking this, now you're thinking that. Then I started thinking to myself, who do I not want to be? And I said, I don't want to be the parent or the type of father that all of a sudden is not there for his kids. My father was there for me always. And I said, I don't want to be the type of person that's always walking around saying, I went through a divorce twice. Oh my gosh, she left me. Oh my gosh. I didn't want to be the person that became this super negative view of the world. I didn't want to be those type of folks. And I'd been around them. They were my friends, some of my parents' friends. And I come up in that environment. No, I didn't want to be that way. But who did I want to be? And I said, there were still some things that I wanted to do. I wanted to buy another home. There were some things that I want to do. I wanted to be a director. There were some things that I wanted to be. Who did Shay want to be as a person? Now, I didn't know then. I was only, 27? I went through my second divorce, 28. So I'm still under 30 years old. I didn't know I was going to do all the crap I'm doing now. I had no freaking idea. But I knew one thing. That one divorce wasn't going to stop me. I was going to get out of credit card debt. I was going to do this stuff. I didn't know shortly later I'd be laid off, right? And I'd become an entrepreneur. Topic for another time. So who do I want to be? Then you move to the projected painful future. Now, you can do this any time in life. I've done this many, many times where I'll sit back. And if you go to Tony Robbins classes or any Lisa Nichols or any other classes, this is when you step back and you think of all the bad things that could happen. So you think about it as a speaker. You start having this projecting what's painful. In your case, or I'll say in my case, if I let this hold me down, I may never find love again. If I tell myself I'm not going to date and get serious, I'll just play the field, right? I'll just see who just wants to hang out. I'll just try to have a little fun in life, quote unquote. There's nothing wrong with those things. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're good. It is what your life wanted to be. I said, but I may never find love again. And when you start thinking about it, it puts you in a place of feeling down, feeling bad, like this is horrible. And it's okay. I could look up and I could be 85, 90 years old and never try to love again. A 2-time loser is not good, by the way. Women leaving you twice is really bad. But then you move to the compelling future. And the compelling future is you start coming back into saying, what is possible? What if I find love again? What if I get to travel? What if we have kids again? What if? And you start giving yourself a compelling future. In your case, what if you crack this code of entrepreneurship? What if you have a sales funnel that actually sells? What if you decide to impact 1 million plus lives? It's not just a number. What if you retire your parents? You start looking at what it would do for you, and you create this compelling future. And that compelling future leads you to the next question, which is right down here. What are the next level of capabilities that you need? In order to get to that next level, what do you need to do? For me, it was going to therapy. Now, I've been to therapy a number of times. This is not a conversation around therapy. I hate therapy. I hate talking to therapists about the past because I'm always like, I don't care about the past. I just want the future. Being very vulnerable and being open with you guys. I don't think I ever shared the story publicly. But what are some capabilities that Shay had to work on in himself? And you as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, as an expert, as a thought leader, as someone that wants to do some really big things in the world, what are the capabilities that you need? What are the habits that you need? What type of community do you need to be around? And you're already good. And you wouldn't be listening right now if you weren't already amazing. You wouldn't be still paying attention right now or listening to this recording a second or third or fourth time if you weren't already a champion, and sure enough, a comeback champion, just because you're here. Topic for another time. Let me stay here. But what do you need? And then more importantly, what are the resources? And for me, it was getting better at who I was as a person. So I didn't go off to some top mountain somewhere, but I did see a therapist. I did start joining other groups, and I did find myself back in the quote unquote dating scene and telling myself that I was open to giving it a try. It sounds weird talking to people. Yeah, I'm open to getting married again. That sounded kind of weird. It's like, guys, you know, supposed to say those things, right? And so what's the point that I make is I come back, you have to take action. At some point, you just have to take action and you have to get going. You put one foot in front of the other foot in front of the other foot. For me, I didn't find my wife because I was on a dating app, which I wish I did, or some other. Our story was a little bit different. Our story was I happened to get a hold of Garfield Senior High's email list. Back then, you could spam people. You can't do that these days, by the way. You can't do that. But I was sending out spams through emails. He sent emails every single day. And what took place is she got an email. She sent me a Facebook message back in 2007, I think it was. And she said, "Are you the same Shay Brown from school?" I said, "Yes, let's go out." I took some action, right? And she was someone I was always in love with when he was younger. And I said, "Let's go out." And she says, "You're not my type." I said, "What does that have to do with going out?" And so we ended up going out, and one thing led to another thing led to another. And 14 years later, we're married, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. My point of telling you that is at some point, you got to take action. You're going to do this video, and here's why I tell you the story. It might not be about you getting married again, but you may do this video, and it may suck. It may not be the best it is. It's okay. You took some action, and you'll get better. We're doing this challenge for the very first time. Is it perfect? As perfect as we can make it. Our hearts are in the right place. Will it be better in the future if we do it? Absolutely. You take action. You take action. You take action. Put this down in your notes. The universe rewards people who take action differently than those that don't. And then once you take action, you got to add the gas. Now, you see it says add gas here. That means you go into warp speed. Now, warp speed for me means I'm all in. You're going to be in speed this week. You're going to spend an hour of your time or however much time we're together here. This is overtime right now. And it gives you an opportunity to step back now and say, let me recalibrate. my car window got a rock hit it. It smashed it. I drive a Toyota Prius. I think it was a 2020 or 19. I can't remember right now. Hybrid. And in order for me to get the car fixed, SafeLight couldn't come out. I have USAA insurance. Love USAA insurance. Shout out. They don't give me any money, by the way. But in order for me to take it, I had to take it into SafeLight. They had to recalibrate the window because it has all this cool stuff in it for safety. And that's how life is. You've got to step back and recalibrate. And last is you got to get into momentum. Now, I'm teaching it how this is. I could have just told the story and went back and broke it down. But I did it this way so that those folks that are doing this know that anytime life hits you in the face, and I'm always asked about what's the secret formula for comeback champion. Success loop is one of them, right? The comeback champion. Reverse stack. Who do you want to be? Who do you not want to be? Understand if you don't change, how painful it could be, and then how better it is if you don't. The comeback champion, and I close with this. it's not about the comeback. The comeback is what's going to happen around that painful, compelling future. Anyone can come back. If your feet hit the ground this morning, you can come back. I was on a podcast. They told me to explain it. I said, well, that means you started over again. That's the comeback. The second part of comeback is champion. And the hardest part to be a champion, all champions understand two things. Is right there. It's the last one. It's the science of momentum. And when a champion is in momentum, they put the pedal to the metal. They go, 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 go. That's one thing. That's one thing. So got to keep going. Got to be consistent. But here's the point people miss. They don't slow down and say, let me stop and celebrate. They don't get out of momentum, because if they get out of momentum, it's hard to get back. Sure, you got to slow down to sleep. You got to rest. But otherwise, they don't let other things get in the way. You keep the main thing, the main thing. And over long term, that's what separates the winners from the champions. The winners win a few times. They got ups and downs, up and down. That happens in business. But the champions in business, yeah, they have some losses. They have some traumatic setbacks, but they're always in momentum. So I want to congratulate you as I close out, because this wasn't on the plan. I want to congratulate you for being in momentum. I want to congratulate you for showing up. I'm going to encourage you to go back, whether you use this formula or not, redo your story, post it another time in the group. Then make sure you put your topic down, post it in the group. And then tomorrow, show up when we break down how to build a high ticket product. And whether you have one or not, start the direction of doing that. And now you're 3 days in, and you're a lot further today than you were yesterday. And you take one step, one step, one step. You do that, you'll get to where you want to go to. With that being said, thanks for joining. For those folks that want to be part of something special, we're doing the boot camp. Just text the word boot camp. If you're just getting in, you don't know what the HE2 boot camp is. It's just something that Dr. Cheryl Wood and I will be doing one-on-one. It'll be live. It'll be in person. A lot of cool things happening. There'll be a media component to it. There'll be a speaking component to it. There'll be a selling component to it. But you can text the word boot camp. Text the word boot camp to 202-270-1662. 202-270-1662. We'll get you the details. Include your first name, include your last name, include your best contact number. And I'll close with this. We'll see you, some of you, tomorrow. Be there, day 3. And others, we may see you at the boot camp. God bless. Keep doing God's work. I'll see you tomorrow. And I look forward to being in the group. And I love getting the videos. I wish I could talk about them all. But I can't wait to go hear some of your stories and hear some of your keynotes. And I look forward to seeing you on stage. God bless. I'm out. Do me a favor. Everyone is out there, still out there in the comments section. Just go in there in the comment section and just put #11. Just put #11. #11 is the bat signal that you're willing to collaborate. I believe that collaboration crushes competition. Dr. George C. Fraser told me that 1 + 1 = 2. And that math will always be the case. But 1 and 1 = 11. #11. #11. #11. That's the power of 11, the power of collaborating, working with other folks. There are going to be speakers and other people you meet at this group. And some of you will start some collaboration, because that's what it's supposed to do. And others, you just enjoy the time here. So #11, #11, #11. With that being said, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. God bless. I'll see you on the other side. Peace. I'm out. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye-bye.